think you're muted. Or maybe my mic's not working.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. This is the fun stuff that we get to deal with, right? Episode 1 of
Mm.
the Swolverine podcast with Colten Mertens. Colten, thanks for joining me this morning. How's your day been going?
Oh, not too bad. Just I'm here at the shop at the farm, and yeah, we got some baby pigs in this morning. They've been working on chores. Not too bad. It's pretty nice out. It's not terribly hot yet, so yeah, doing good.
That's awesome. Well, rad. Well, I'm very excited to chat with you. Does everything sound okay on my side of things?
Yep, I think so. Hmm.
Cool. All right. Well, so Colton, I'm super excited to chat with you a little bit more. We're going to get into all sorts of things. You are a CrossFit Games athlete, right? We have you on as a Swolverine athlete. We've worked with you for quite a while now, which is super exciting. You've been a great addition to the team, and I'm excited to kind of get into it. So, first things first, let's talk about rapid fire. So, Colton, what is your middle name?
Robert, it's a good
All
one.
right. And when did you start CrossFit?
I started in 2017. It would have been beginning of my second semester of college. I knew coming out of high school that I wanted to start CrossFit, and I had a shoulder surgery from my senior year of wrestling, so I had to wait a little bit. But yeah, I think it was right at the start of the second semester of my freshman year of college, 2017. So going on, I guess, about 5 years now.
Nice. Okay. And where do you live? Tell us a little bit more about kind of where you're located here in the States.
Yeah, so I'm live a little bit outside of Hillsboro, Iowa. It's a population of I think 120 or so. It's in southeast Iowa, about an hour south of Iowa City. So yeah, just out here on the farm.
That's
Hmm.
awesome. Very cool. So, and you train, I'm sure a lot of people follow you because you train a little bit of everything, a little bit of everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, from doing wall balls on the side of the house, ring muscle ups in the tree, and then really stepping on the floor at the CrossFit Games, right? So, tell me a little bit more about where you spend your training time. Are you mainly at the house, in the garage? Are you mainly in the gym? Talk to me more about that.
Yeah, so I started at CrossFit Kilo in college, and I trained there when I was at school, and then graduated, came back home to work on the farm. And when I first got back, I was just training. We have a kind of an old wood shed. It's a little ways behind the house, kind of by the timber. And my dad had just an old barbell and some cast iron plates from when he was in maybe his 20s, and he's 52 now. I
Back in the
started off,
day.
yeah, I started off training with those and underneath of that shed. And I remember I nailed a pipe to a couple of trees so then I could do pull-ups. And I did a lot of Murph, a lot of trail runs and stuff like that in the beginning. And then just kind of slowly, piece by piece, got more equipment here and there. And as I saved up my money from working and another little bit of money you get competing, and eventually moved into the shed by the house. And now I moved into the garage, so now I've got a heater, and so that's a little bit better. But yeah, just I'd say 95 or more percent of my training is just in the garage at home by myself. And I've got pretty much all the equipment I need now, but just the limitations of being inside of a garage. I have maybe a 15 by 20 foot space to kind of do all my training in, and then I've got a rope outside in the tree for rope climbs, rings outside in the tree for muscle ups, and then I have to do wall balls on the side of the house because the ceiling's not tall enough to do wall balls inside.
Mhm.
But it gets the job done. It's a little bit trickier in the winter, but it's not as fun, but you have to get it done anyway. And but we're working on. I think in a couple weeks is when they're gonna start the foundation for a house that my girlfriend Allison and I are building, and half of the square footage of it is just gonna be a gym. So that'll be really nice. So we're really looking forward to that, and hoping that it can elevate our fitness a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like that's probably most people's dream, right? Have half their house be a gym,
Yeah.
whether they're a
Hmm.
games athlete or not. So that is pretty exciting. When did you decide to go just kind of competitive with it? When was kind of your first competition? What was that like to be a beginner in the space, right? Like you went from wrestling, being competitive that way into, all of a sudden a few years later being on the games floor. But can you think back to what it was like to start and have those jitters and not know what you were doing and feel like I don't know how to do this movement and whatnot?
Yeah. So I got really lucky with the gym that I ended up going to, CrossFit Kilo. They have a really great competitive background. They sent multiple teams to the games, and they're at regionals. Almost every year they've had a handful of individual games athletes before me, and
Mhm.
they're one of those programs that never recruited anybody in. Everybody who competed on their team was always somebody who, their first time experiencing CrossFit was the first time they walked into CrossFit Kilo. So they have a really good program for building up people. And the very first competition I did, it was a local comp. I think it was in Des Moines. It's a couple hours from where I live. And there's maybe, I don't know, 10 or 12 people in my division. And I remember the very first workout. Um, it had some burpee box jump overs and some pull ups, and maybe there's some overhead squats or something like that. And I remember
Overhead what?
during over
What is this?
I remember during the workout, I couldn't really tell where I was at in my heat, and my judge kept on telling me like, "You're doing really good." And I remember because I thought I was like basically like a round behind. I was like, "Wow, just stop telling me that. I know I'm not doing very well." But I think I ended up, I might have won that workout or I did well in it. So then, yeah, that was kind of nice. But I just remember like not being like having the awareness to kind of see where my competitors were and thinking that I was about to get lapped, but I was a little bit in the lead. And then maybe a year and a half later is when we qualified for the games on a team, and I was on that team. So that was my first experience with the CrossFit Games, and then started competing individually after that, and ended up making it back individually a couple years later. And now here we
Yeah.
are.
So you stepped on the floor at the games with the team. How old were you at that point?
20. I think I was 20 years old because I remember
I
I
mean, is
still wasn't
that
old
not
enough to drink.
nerve-wracking? I mean, 20 years old,
Yeah.
you're coming from Iowa, you've been in training for like a year, and then all of a sudden you're on the floor competing kind of on the biggest stage for the sport, right?
Yeah, we actually had the youngest average age of any team that year, and we also
Oh, that's
had the
pretty cool.
shortest male athlete and the tallest female athlete. They're both on the same team.
That's pretty awesome. Do you feel like do you still get nervous? Like, do you get jitters? Do you get barfy? Do you get, like, what is that kind of like competing? We'll tangent here for a
Yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah. I definitely had some, like nausea before, and as I've kind of getting more experience in the sport, it's not as bad, and just kind of learning how to use your nerves and emotions to work for you, and kind of use them to. Because if you went out there with absolutely no nerves, it probably wouldn't be the best for your performance. Because I mean, those nerves and that stress, it puts your body into a state where it's going to produce, adrenaline and those other hormones that are going to help you compete and get those competition PRs that you would never even think about getting in training. So there's definitely something to be said for allowing those nerves and not, necessarily fighting them because that's going to waste energy too. Because some nerves can be good, but also you don't want to overdo it either and just get drained because you're so stressed out. And that's something I think I've had a problem with before. But as I get more experience competing, I'm getting better at keeping those in check and just making sure to have fun and trust my training. And just knowing that you can't control the outcome, you can only control your performance and making sure to give it your best effort. It sounds cliche, and I don't like it when people say it, but I mean, they're kind of right. You just have to give your best effort and try not to stress about it too much.
Mhm. Yeah, and, like, trying to stay calm, right? But not too calm. And,
Yeah.
speaking of too calm, can we talk about, the photo of you yawning before the event at the games? Was that games or Granite Games?
Yeah, that was the CrossFit Games for the
I wish I could
maybe
pull
it
it
was
up right
no,
now.
it was a yeah, it was a jump rope workout. Yeah, I
Oh,
think
I got this. No.
yeah, my yeah, my nerves were kind of just getting the best of me, and it's kind of it makes you tired just being nervous. And that was I think maybe it was our third event of the day, and ended up being a kind of a long day because we had that rain delay, I think. So
Mhm.
then you just
Oh,
had like
yeah,
a
so
lot
you're
of
just kinda sitting
downtime.
around.
hmm Yeah, I was just getting a little bit sleepy, and I yawned and kind of gave myself a smack to wake myself up a little bit. And I guess they were filming me. I had a
Dang
few
it,
memes
right?
made about that.
That was pretty great, though. I mean, it's truly, nerves are that interesting thing, like you're saying. I think that, often when we're newer in our athletic journey or we have someone who's newer to the sport, that's overlooked, right? The physiological response of the way you treat your body or what kind of your mental, emotional state is being drawn from, And so that being said, I mean, do you have kind of like I don't want to call it like a pregame routine, but a pregame routine? Do you kind of walk yourself through kind of a mental, emotional journey setting up for an event or for a competition in general that maybe, someone else could think about themselves when they're going into a competition and they're like, dude, I just want to barf and I just want to like run away, but it's exciting. So I'm there. And then next thing I know, I blacked out and I'm halfway through the marathon. I don't know where I'm at and it's over.
Yeah.
And what do you do? And what would you kind of advise to others?
Yeah, I'd say it starts, the whole thing starts with just preparation, knowing that you prepared yourself the best you can. Because the worst thing is getting to a comp and then thinking that you may have overlooked something or could have done something better. So making sure that you prepare the best you can help give you some extra confidence. But then, once it's time to like actually compete, you're at the competition or maybe you're getting ready to take the floor. Um, just I remind myself a lot of times like it's okay to be nervous, it's okay to be anxious. Don't necessarily fight those feelings because they can help you. Um, know that everybody else has those same things going on, and I remember just something I kind of use is like just the monotony of like day to day farming, training, sleeping. Remember that it's for these moments and all these emotions that you're feeling, this high stress stuff. You don't get that a lot in life from many other things. There's not a lot of situations in life that are going to make you feel the way you feel before you step onto the competition floor. Just those extreme emotions, and whether they're good or bad, just kind of take them in and be appreciative for them. And because that's it really does make you feel alive when you're actually out there. So just learning to appreciate that and reminding yourself that I trained all those hours so I could be here and do this, and now I need to have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of touched on something, right? Like managing expectations, right?
Mm,
Whether it's pre-competition, during competition, or post-competition. Because you have to take care of yourself through that, right? You can't
mm,
go in with like the 100% or nothing. And I think athletes who are earlier in their journey, how do you know you're on the right path? How do you believe in yourself? How do you believe that you can have the confidence to compete at that higher level? Or, how does it seem, making sure that I guess the long-term goal doesn't seem so out of range that you lose the essence of the moment, right?
mm,
Because at any level, I mean, if someone comes into a competition, they're doing scaled and they're like, yeah, well, someday I want to do RX, or someday I want to be, in quarterfinals, someday I want to be at semifinals, right? Those are kind of the small, medium, large scale goals.
mm,
But at someone at your level, you still have small, medium, and large size goals. Right, you still have those times of self doubt or those expectations where you have to kind of pull it back or push it forward. Right, step on the gas and the brake a little bit.
mm.
And so, being at the games multiple times, how do you feel like you can relate to someone who, gets overwhelmed with expectations or gets overwhelmed with goals and goal setting? How do you feel like you have, worked on your goal setting with yourself to trust that you are on the right process? Is that setting yourself up with a coach? Is that, interpersonal work where, you're sitting down with yourself and having those conversations? Talk to me more about that.
Yeah, so in obviously we start with the long-term overall goal, but then we have to remember it doesn't happen overnight. It can be something that maybe it's a decade down the road for when you might reach your goal. And also we have to realize we might never reach our goal, and that's something that we have to accept and a risk that we have to take. You might put in everything you have, and you might still never get what you want, and that's life, and it's something that you just have to accept. And so looking at that long-term goal, obviously you need to make those intermediate goals along the way, and you have to look at it, like stepping stones. Or like you're
Totally.
climbing a tall staircase, you can't get there in one jump. There's all these intermediate steps that you have to take, and you just have to remember that it's a process, and it helps just kind of stepping back and maybe not focusing so much on that overall goal, but just focusing on the day to day and focusing on the process and enjoying it. And there's gonna be a lot of hard days, especially for me with farming and training. A lot of days where I'm really tired and it's hard to get out, give a good effort in training, but you
Hmm.
have to do it anyway. And I really, really do enjoy training, so I think that helps a lot. That you enjoy what you're doing and figure out how to enjoy the process. And I kind of what I've been doing lately, just framing things differently for
Hmm.
myself in training and not thinking like, okay, what do I need to do today to help me win the games? But I'll think, what do I need to do today to become fitter? What do I need to do to become stronger? What do I need to do to improve my recovery? And then all those things will lead to better performance at the games. So,
Yeah.
and that seems much more manageable. Like, okay, I just need to get fitter today, not, okay, I need to win the games today. That's something that
Hmm.
is much more manageable and can help you kind of keep going, especially when that big goal seems so far away.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the difference between training and exercising,
Mm,
right? Like training, you're going to go in with a specific stimulus. It's sometimes it might just be to do that movement the best that you can. It's not even about the overall metcon, right?
mm,
Other times, you're going to go in with some of those bigger goals. Like, great, I got a competition in 3 weeks. I have to hit X, Y, and Z. And that's training. That's taking initiative as an athlete and really prioritizing, um, your effort and your being conscientious of what you're doing and how you're doing it and why. What is the stimulus, right? But then, like exercising, there's going to be times where a lot of people just go into the gym just to train and have fun and be with their buddies. You know what I mean? And that's really the fun part
yeah.
about CrossFit too. And I think something that's really admirable about you and something that's really unique is like you don't have. I mean, you do have a community. I'm not going to knock that. But the
Mm,
majority of the time that you're training, you're not with a community. You're not with other people. You're not with, you're not even with your coach. You're not even within an hour of the gym. So,
yeah.
I mean, how do you feel like, do you, do you feel like you're at times at a competitive disadvantage or just a disadvantage in general and compared to other athletes in the sense of amenities or what you have access to, or do you not even give thought to that? um, does that cross your mind ever?
Yeah, I mean, those things are hard to ignore when, especially when you see like those training camps or you see athletes that always kind of have their team around them, kind of taking care of everything. A lot of those things I do on my own because I'm just, I'm here. There's not, just with the location, don't have a lot of people around me, and for like coaches or training partners to be like physically here around me. And that's one of the things I missed most from when I was in college, being able to train at CrossFit Kilo every day and to see all my friends. Because I mean, that was also like my social time. I didn't, go out to the bars a lot or party. My social time and seeing my friends was at the gym. But now having to make that shift to train alone in the garage, and not having, maybe some of the advantages that a lot of my competitors have. I mean, none of my competitors are working full time doing manual labor either. And
Mhm.
I'm sure people probably noticed none of my competitors are 5'4" either. And that's definitely not an advantage at this level. But it can feel like it's an uphill battle a lot of times. But I try to remind myself like people didn't think I was gonna even qualify for the games, training at home alone on top of farming and all these things, but I did, and then I qualified again. And I think I can keep on improving, and my path isn't going to be what other people's paths are, and I can find my own way. I'm a good problem solver, and I'm very stubborn. So I think
No.
I get I'm pretty good at figuring a lot of things out and figuring out what I need to do to make it work for me and just like building this house, like I'm gonna have this pretty sweet training facility that's just gonna be mine and Allie's, and it's gonna be right attached to my house. I'm gonna have my own space and everything set up really well. But right now, yeah, it is tough.
Mhm.
I remember before I qualified for the games, one of the biggest challenges was not knowing if it was even possible to qualify while working on a farm full time. because nobody else was doing that, and just
Manual labor, a lot of
yeah,
full-time jobs at it anyways, or
hmm
part-time jobs, right? Like it doesn't
yeah,
really, I mean, a lot of people at your level just don't, they focus 100% on training,
hmm
right? And I mean, that's a huge kind of thing. I would just kind of throw that in there in case I think a lot of people don't recognize the times that there are athletes out there like yourself who do work full-time, let alone in full-time
hmm
manual labor and then go and train. I mean, how many hours a day do you train?
Oh, it just depends. As soon as I get done at the farm, I eat a quick lunch and or whatever, and then get into training, and then I train. I have X amount of things that I have to get done, and
Mhm.
maybe it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock before I get done. But if I get done at the farm earlier, then I'll train every minute until it's time to go eat dinner and get ready for bed, so I can get enough sleep to recover and do it again. So I mean, it could be 3 hours, it could be 6 hours, it could be hours
Mhm. Totally. I mean, and Allie's been a
on the
huge
farm.
role. For anyone who doesn't know, um, Allie Colton, you guys have been together for how long?
Three, maybe
Uh-oh.
it's been 3 years.
Uh-oh. Al,
But
hope you're listening. No,
no,
I'm
it's,
just
it's been
kidding.
3 years. Yeah, 3 years this past July. It's a little over 3 years now.
Yeah, and she's been a big rock for you. You know what I mean? Like when you don't have that community, you don't have
Mhm.
that. You have your family and you have, your girlfriend and your coach and at times like I assume it can be a little lonely, right? Like when you're in the gym and
Mhm.
sweating over and over again. I mean, do you listen to music when you train? Do you is it quiet? Are you listening to
Yeah.
crickets or
Either I just kind of just whatever I'm in the mood for. Sometimes it's music, sometimes it's a podcast. If I just have like a long cardio piece, sometimes it's just
you
nice to
listen
hear
to
the
Savan
quiet.
yell at people?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes,
Savan, we love you. It's okay.
yeah, but I mean, I guess I have a pretty good personality for it because I really don't mind being alone too much. I mean, even at the farm, I'm working alone most of the day, unless
Mhm.
my dad and I are doing a project together or something with it. It's a two-person job, but I think I guess I'm lucky in that I have a pretty good disposition for, I guess, being alone. I don't get super lonely very easily, so I kind of like having my own space and kind of just to myself. And people that know me know that I'm not like a huge talker. I'd rather sit and listen and just kind of hang out and stuff like that. So it doesn't bother me a ton being alone. I kind of adjusted to it, and I kind of like it now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, too, even like throughout our partnership, right? We've kind of like, I remember in the beginning, it was kind of this quiet, like,
Yeah.
hi, I'm Colton. I'm like, hi, I'm Alex,
Yeah.
and now here we are
Yeah.
just chatting it up. And it's awesome to kind of watch you grow into yourself and grow into like the person that you've always wanted to be and the athlete that you wanted to be,
Mhm.
and kind of throughout that journey, do you feel like there's anyone that you've really like looked up to throughout your CrossFit journey? I mean, you're 24. Social media is like a
Mhm.
huge piece of that generation, and like I'm so old, but of the generation itself. And just kind of, do you have other people or other athletes that you currently look up to or that you looked up to when you started that you were like, I want to be like that person or I want to model that type of like work ethic? Oh, I see you smiling. Tell me more.
I guess I have a couple of parts to this answer, but yeah, when I first started CrossFit, I mean, like I watched the documentary videos. Is probably how a lot of people kind of maybe got into it. And I remember like I watched Fronin's documentary, and I used to think he was really cool until I competed against him in 2018. And nothing against him personally, but I just didn't like getting beat. His team beating us on every event. So,
I hate you,
so I think,
man.
yeah, so I think he's a good dude, but no, I'm not. It's harder to idolize him after you compete against him, I guess. But
Hmm.
I mean, then also Josh Bridges. I guess maybe it's also him being a smaller athlete, but I also like his mentality and his attitude, and he just seems like pretty funny and cool guy. But I guess another part, I mean, I look up to myself because I think I'm kind of the
Yeah.
coolest athlete. I don't think any other athlete would be able to do what I'm doing in my situation. I don't think
Hmm.
any of them would be at my level if they were, farming all day and having to train alone in a little garage with an unlevel floor and having to do their wall balls outside against a brick wall. And I don't think anybody else would have been able to get here, taking my path. So I look up to myself a lot too and just carry a chip on my shoulder with me. just because of the
Absolutely.
path I've had to take.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should, right? And like have that self-esteem, that confidence in like your ability because it's on you. You know,
Yeah.
like you can idolize other people, you can look at other things, you can sit on social media and compare yourself all day long to who you are, who you aren't, or who's the same age, or who started at the same time, you know. But at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with
Mm-hmm.
what you're willing to put in and what you're willing to get out of that, right? And that
Yeah.
responsibility is yours. And I think a lot of times people lose it's kind of like lose that idea that you're gonna have to do the shit. You're gonna have to do it
Yeah.
over and over again. You're gonna eat shit sandwiches
Mm-hmm.
all week long, and then eat them twice a day. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a thing, right? And that's also what can separate people, right? If you're
Yeah.
not willing to work for something you almost blindly believe in, right? Like this unwavering confidence and belief in yourself and where you want to go, you don't always have to know the steps on how to get there. You don't always have to know exactly how the pieces are going to come together. And if you sit there and try to think about it, you're going to drive yourself nuts, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you can do that. You could go in your garage any probably day of the week and sit there and let that inner critic and that inner voice beat the shit out of you. Or you say, like, I recognize that these doubts are there. I recognize that these fears or these jitters, like we talked about earlier, everyone has them. They don't just go away. They're always something
Mm-hmm.
that's present. It's just kind of a matter of like, what do you feed? Right? What do you ultimately believe in? What voice are you going to listen to? Um, when you are training, and I guess this is a question from someone that they asked me to kind of ask you about, was when you're in training, speaking of the inner critic, the inner voice, kind of that positive, negative, where is your mind? Where does it go? Does it turn off? Are you focused on intention and movement? Are you going rep by rep? Are you, talk to us a little bit more about that and how that gets you through being as efficient as possible and maximizing the time that you have to train to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, mentally in training, I do a lot of visualization, even in the middle of workouts, and just thinking about my goals and where I want to be, and I visualize myself winning events, doing well, especially if I'm doing movements that are not good for me, like if I'm doing rowing intervals, I'm doing wall balls, whatever, and it seems kind of silly, but like I'll imagine in my head that I'm winning a rowing workout, and the announcers are like, "How's he winning the rowing workout?" But
Yeah.
that's kind of like a really big motivation for me is proving people wrong and being the smallest guy out there, but winning like a machine event or a wall ball workout or things like that. And
Mhm.
that's where my mind just kind of naturally goes to a lot. And that's something I did back in wrestling. Like before school, if I'm running miles, cutting weight, like envisioning wrestling at the state championships and things like that. And so that's something that really helps keep my mind occupied. It keeps me motivated and training hard even when I really don't want to, because yeah, that's just something that really motivates me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit more about, I mean, what's it like to work on a farm? What is it? What are you doing kind of on day to day? Give us kind of just this. Tell us a little bit more about what that actually looks like, or your responsibilities, or I think most people probably either watching this or just in general have maybe never even been on a farm, right?
Yeah,
Maybe never even been
yeah,
on an animal farm. Um, Talk to me more about that.
yeah. So this I work on my family's farm with my father, my uncle Marty, and my brother, and we have a lot of different things going on. We farm corn and soybeans, and my uncle has some cows. My brother raises some dogs. He does some landscaping, and we also have a lot of like ag businesses that we do, like crop spraying, manure hauling. Um, and then the big part, I guess, like for me and my dad, is we raise a lot of pigs, and I kind of manage a lot of that. So, like first thing in the morning, ride my bike to the farm and go through and check all the pigs, make sure they've all got feed, water, none of them are sick or hurt, and none of them have broken any gates or anything because they're very mischievous. And take care of any problems that they might have, and those are kind of my responsibilities in like ordering feed. loading the pigs up, sorting them when we have to take them to market. Like this morning, we got a group of baby pigs in, so loading them into the farm and sorting out like we'll sort out the smallest ones so that they kind of can chill together. Otherwise, they kind of get bullied by the bigger pigs, and yeah, that's kind of and then like just so like I kind of mainly work with the pigs, but then like if there's someone needs help with no Cody needs help with a dog, or my uncle needs help with the cows, or need help with crop harvesting or whatever, then I kind of come around and help out with that stuff too. But yeah, I mean I'm kind of putting together like a little, I guess like mini day in the life reel, maybe like 45 seconds long, from I think it was Tuesday. Like Tuesday, my day was 3:30. Woke up, made some coffee, packed my food and drinks in my little backpack, and rode my bike to the farm. And then my dad, brother, and I loaded up some pigs to take to market. And then I did chores for all the pigs, and then I went and washed a pig barn. I came home, ate, trained in the garage, and got down with that a little after 8. And then I ate dinner and played with my dogs a little bit and went to bed. That's kind of what a day looks like. I don't always get up that early, and every day is kind of different on a farm because there's always different things to do. But yeah, that's kind of just how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like, people are like, oh, what are you eating a day? Or what does your training look like? Right. And it's like,
Yeah.
nah, this is what real life looks like.
Hmm.
This is hard work. This is dedication to yourself professionally, as both an athlete and in a professional in the agricultural business. Right.
Hmm.
And it's not often what people expect because they don't see it, like you said, because it's not often done. And it's
Yeah.
hard to find that balance between people talk about work life, like, oh, I didn't get to go grab mimosas on Sunday. Like, oh, I didn't shoot, I missed the basketball game. But you're over
Hmm.
here like, how do I, get everything out of every minute, every second of my day because I
Hmm.
have a vision for myself. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the most inspiring things about you and why, you know, people look up to you, why there's the Mertens Mafia. You know what I mean? Where it's like, man, this guy knows, something about life that I don't know that I want to know too. How does he not get burnout? How does he not lose motivation? And that's not to say you don't have those things and those things don't
Hmm.
happen, right? Like, I mean, there's tough days, like you said, like you run your head into the wall some days or the wall ball into the wall,
Yeah.
right? And busting a hole in the ceiling. But well,
Yeah. I
hopefully not.
mean, yeah, the best way to get, like I always say that like, there's no easy way to, get tough. You just have to do tough things and do them often. Like something that the gym in Cedar Falls does is they kind of have a yearly event, and it's been kind of different the last few years. But it used to be like the competitor camp, and it'd be like Armin would run it and be like 24 hours of basically nonstop like training, doing like a bunch of different team stuff, and we'd have like 10, 15-minute breaks between events, and we'd have like one hour break to eat. But other than that, it was like doing things like sandbag carries for miles to trade off with your partner, or like marathon rows as a team and things like that. And, you know, I would encourage people to find things to challenge themselves, go through tough experiences, whatever it is. And then you can look back on that when you have tough days and remind yourself, the kind of person that you are. Like, I'm the kind of person who does tough things and takes on challenges. And, I remember like one of the hardest things was my junior year of high school cutting weight. Um, I remember every single week I told myself I was gonna, like, this would be the last one. I'm gonna weigh in, and then I'm gonna move up a weight. And then that weigh in would come, like, okay, I can make Saturday's tournament. I weigh in there, like, okay, I'm after this I'm done. Then I'd like change my mind again. So okay, I can make it through Thursday, and just keep on pushing and pushing, pushing. And after like doing that for the whole season, that was kind of the start of like the mindset set shift. Like I really can do whatever I want to put my mind to, and just continuing to do challenging and tough things. And then you get to the point where it's like, yeah, it's a tough day, but I've had a lot of tough days, and I've got through all of them so far. And you just put your head down and you get it done and keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And how do you? know your threshold, right? So
Mm,
when you are working, let's take Tuesday for example, right? Like I think anyone who says, "Oh yeah, he got up at 3:30, he went to bed at or got finished at 8:30." Obviously, I think most people would say, "Yeah,
mm,
probably not a good training day." Right? But
mm,
maybe our earlier athletes or people who, push the needle, right? No team, no days off, team, run yourself on the ground. You're not trying hard
mm,
enough. You're not doing enough. That type of kind of mentality in the gym or in training. How do you know your threshold with your training volume and what your body or what your mind is capable of? And how do you float the line of having grace for yourself on days where you can't train, knowing that you have these athletic goals that you're trying to pursue?
mm. Yes, you just have to, I guess, try and maximize each day. And, there's days going into training where I know, like, okay, I might not be able to do all the training I wanted to do because my body just doesn't have it in it today. So then you pull back a little bit and you just get to that rest day. And usually for me, rest days are Sundays and light days on Thursdays. Because,
Hmm.
I think of like training and recovery just like finances. Like, your training is your expenditure and your recovery is your income, and you can only
Hmm.
outspend your income for so long before you run into problems. So you have to, I kind of keep that same mindset in training, and it's like, doesn't mean that you always take it off when you have a tough day. You're gonna have tough days. You're gonna have a lot of days you don't feel like training or you don't feel high energy, and you just have to get through them. But then also remember, like, you're gonna have to take a rest, like Sunday. Really focus on the rest and recovery, get the body work in, get as much sleep as you can, nutrition, supplements, hydration, all those things, because that's my income so that I can train more during the week. And I think a lot of people look at recovery as something that's passive, and you have to work hard on your recovery just like you do your training.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, in a recovery day, let's take a Sunday, for example. I mean, I don't think the pigs take a day off, right? Like,
No.
so are you still out there on a Sunday? I mean, do you work? You
Mm.
feel like you work full time, 7 days a week? Is that kind of like shared responsibility? And how do you, prioritize your recovery so you have that spend during the week while also taking care of
Mm.
personal responsibilities?
Yeah, so yeah, with livestock you have to, take care of them 7 days a week. So Saturday and Sunday I'm at the farm as well. But it just kind of takes some planning throughout the week to make sure that you can kind of take a little bit lighter workload on the weekend, which
Hmm.
is something that's kind of nice about the farm. You can kind of get ahead a little bit, so then you don't have to spend all day there Saturday and Sunday. You can maybe just
Hmm.
be there for 2 or 3 hours on Sunday, and I'll kind of treat that as my active recovery instead of like going for a walk or doing like a light bike. My farm work was my active recovery for the day, and then once I get that done, the rest of the day is usually stretching, soft tissue work, rolling out, mobility, all kinds of stuff like that. Getting a lot of food, especially if I feel like I underate during the week, trying to get in those calories, and then setting myself up so I can get to bed as early as possible to get as much sleep as I can to start the week off well rested.
Yeah. Where did talk to me about building your own flip sled?
Yeah, so I think I was scrolling through the Grand Games website looking for old workouts to practice leading up to
Mhm.
semis, and I saw that they're sponsored by Flip Sled, and I remember we used that at Wadapalooza, and I didn't do well in that event, so I was like, oh shit, well, I'm probably gonna have to do something with the Flip Sled again. And at regionals or semis, you can't have more than really like one bad event, maybe two like moderately bad events to get into that top five. So I knew like, okay, this is something that I'm gonna have to find a way to train to make sure that this isn't a bad event for me. And
Mhm.
so from there, I went on to Flip Sled's website and kind of looked at the specs for their sleds. And
Mhm.
then my dad and I kind of made our own blueprint. And there's a metal shop a couple miles from the farm. We went there, picked up some metal, and then cut it and welded it up. And now we got a flip sled. And we ended up
Great.
pushing it at Granite Games, which is a little bit disappointing, but that's all right.
It's okay. You can't. I think that's a thing, though. That's a beautiful
Mm,
thing about, just training in life in general. You can't be 100% prepared.
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, everything's constantly varied. That's CrossFit. That's the heart of CrossFit. And when we get locked into this kind of all or nothing mentality, we don't allow room for change. We don't allow room for variables, and ends up
Mm-hmm.
setting ourselves up for failure in doing so, even though a lot of times the mentality is that we are setting ourselves up for success, right? And that's where I think you as an athlete have this unique perspective where you turn adversity into opportunity. You say, how hard, how fast, how high do I have to go, or do I have to jump, or do I have to run to make this happen? And exceeding expectations for yourself, right? You don't get, I mean, and you might at times, but get caught up comparing yourself to other people in the space, comparing yourself to other people on social media. I mean, it's really kind of like a great way to beat the shit out of yourself. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And it's, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, have you done that before? Have you sat there and looked at other people, or even after a competition and been like, I wish I had Fikowski's arms, but I don't. But you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, what is that kind of like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was a little bit taller for like competing purposes, and I wish I had a nice gym to train in and all these things, but like at the end of the day, those things don't matter when it comes to reaching my goals. So I just have to remind myself like dwelling on these things doesn't help. Thinking about every disadvantage you have doesn't help. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to, put that behind you and just say, okay, well, here's the situation. It's not going to change. So how can I adapt and figure out a way forward, figure out a way to get better? And just like with the flip sled, like I didn't have access to one, didn't really have money to spend to buy one with, building our house and everything we have going on this fall. I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna have to make one. You just have to keep
Mm-hmm.
on, just find a way to keep moving forward. And because it's really easy to just say, like, well, shit, I'm not very good at the flip sled. I'm a small athlete. I don't have one around me. Nobody's gonna buy me one. Nobody's gonna blame me if I
I'm
show up
sorry,
and
Colton.
do shitty on that event. Yeah, like you have plenty of excuses, and no one would blame me for telling them that. And then she's like, yeah, I couldn't train the flip sled, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter on the leaderboard. My excuses don't matter when it comes time 3, 2, 1, go. It
Yeah.
just matters whether or not I'm prepared. So I have to, to take responsibility and say, okay, how can I prepare myself? And you just have to kind of do that with any situation and any challenge that we have going on in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit more about the role of your coach. So, who is your coach? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, Armin McCormick is my coach. He came with me to the games, and he's just moving to Florida now. I think he might be there right now. He probably moved maybe this week. But yeah, I mean, we talk a lot on the phone, texting. He does the programming. And then also do like some of Luke Schaefer's programming from Kilo Train. So I kind of just um, cherry pick what I need to do, like a lot of machine work and things like that. A lot of sprinting. Armin's got me doing speed and agility. 5 days a week and longer runs on Saturdays right now. So I think he's really helping me like kind of setting up the plan for the off season and attacking the things that we need to work on, helping me out by programming them so I don't have to do that. And like
Mm-hmm.
I can program like general CrossFit workouts, but I don't want to mess around with like worrying about what my percentages need to be on lifts and my like strength cycles and things like that. So he takes care of all that stuff, and I can just focus on training. And really where he really helps a lot and where Armin really excels as a coach is kind of the mindset type stuff and the mental toughness and taking us through those camps when I was back at Kilo and having the attitude of like, yeah, this is the situation. It might not be ideal, but you gotta find a way. You gotta figure it out anyway. It doesn't matter with if things are ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's when choosing a coach is a pretty personal thing, just like choosing a
Mm-hmm.
gym, right? Like community, individual perspectives, attitude, kind of mindset, that sorts of thing. That all plays into it. And I think a lot of people get locked into, oh, well, I'm just stuck in this box. I'm stuck with this. I don't have any options. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
you gotta find your community. You got to find people who align with you and who are there to
Hmm.
pick you up when you're down and who provide you with that motivation and accountability and leadership, right? So that when you're faulting and when you're not trusting in yourself and you're not, you're a little skeptical of the programming, or you're like, you don't know how to get where you want to go. You don't know how to get to the top of that staircase that you talked about. Without tripping every step on the way up. That's where aligning yourself with a coach, such as you have done with yours, can really make that difference to get you to that next level. And I think it's really unique. It's a great facility. It's a great community. We've worked with them a little bit, and it's just, that's the beauty of finding your niche and finding what makes you tick.
Hmm.
Let's talk a little bit more about the companies that you work with. So we've worked with you for a while. Talk to me about, what are your favorite products? What do you use kind of top to bottom for your training, or, bridging the gaps in your nutrition? What does that look like?
Yeah, so probably the first product I fell in love with Swolverine was the protein. So I never had a protein that was like just that smooth and that tasty, and like I can put 2 scoops in there and it still mixes great. So like
Mhm.
the whey protein's a staple that I use every day, and then the crealkaline creatine is
Mhm.
something I've been using consistently. And once I started working with Swolverine, and that was like that year of training was probably the most significant like jumps in strength gains that I've seen since starting training. And then I take the beta alanine and citrulline malate every day. So like those are kind of like the 3 main like pre-workouts for me. And then
Mhm.
recently, probably my favorite has been the ZMT, because
Yeah.
sleep is so important for recovery and training. It's probably the biggest factor. So like a sleep supplement that really works is huge, and ZMT has worked really really well for me. I sleep.
Cool.
I usually don't have much trouble falling asleep, but I wake up a lot all the time. But when I
Mhm.
take ZMT, I sleep pretty hard like a rock. So it's that's been really nice. I love I really actually someone who really loves sleeping, and I would go to bed really early if I didn't wasn't so busy. So it's really
Mhm.
nice like having that sleep supplement and then just sleeping like a rock all night long.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it really can change what happens during the day. I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds very obviously, right?
Yeah,
But
and
it's so
mhm,
overlooked, right? The basics. And the
yeah.
basics are, the foundation of what happens after that. Do you drink your
Mhm,
water? Do you eat your food? Do you sleep?
mhm,
Do you stress out? Okay, once we have those in line, then you can start to add in more, right? Or you can add in specific supplements, or you can add in
mhm,
more responsibilities throughout the day. Um, what do you do as far as food? I mean, do, do you
mhm.
bring food with you to the farm? Do you run home? Do you forget to
Yeah.
eat? Is it very basic and straightforward?
Yeah, I try and eat a lot of whole foods. For breakfast, I usually bring it with me. I'll eat it while I'm doing chores, so I don't have a
Mhm.
ton of time to like sit down and have like 30, 40 minutes just to eat breakfast at home. So I'll bring it with me, eat it at the farm, and then come home. Usually have an Ice Age meal for lunch,
Mhm.
just real quick, eat it, and then maybe some
Do you have a
fruit.
favorite Ice Age meal? Like, what's your go-to, or what are
Yeah.
your couple of your
The
go-tos for them?
I really love the hui. I think it's called hui chicken and
Oh,
pineapple and rice.
yeah.
I really like pineapple, and yeah, the chicken and rice are also really good. And it's
Mhm.
easy to eat quick and get my macros in. And then for dinner I usually do some pork chops and either um, oatmeal, rice, or potatoes, just kind of depending on how much time I have.
Mhm.
So yeah, I eat a lot of pork. Being a pig farmer.
Yeah. Well, it's probably really good because it's fresh, right?
Yeah. Mm.
You ever put like some apples or some peaches on top?
No, I haven't. I usually just I throw some
That's
salt
just
on
a
it
me
and
thing.
there you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. You'll have to try it. Some cinnamon, brown sugar, make it a little sweet. You're like, no.
Yeah. Pretty basic. I'm not a bad cook, but I'm not a fancy cook.
Yeah, that's fair. Gets the job done,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And it like kind of avoids decision fatigue too.
Yeah.
I mean, for anyone who doesn't know what decision fatigue is, it's just when you're so busy, you don't want to make one more decision,
Yeah. My
right?
dad. my dad always makes fun of me because always making his pork chops again. Like what's day 400 in a row, pork chops and oatmeal for dinner or whatever.
So,
You
ladies
know,
and gentlemen, the secret to becoming a games athlete is pork chops.
yeah.
We have figured it out, the code. It's pretty funny. Do you eat dessert ever? Do you have like a favorite dessert? You a sweet tooth, or you more like savory kind of guy, or you're just like I don't have time?
Yeah, I mean, I like ice cream, and like if I need more calories, that's usually like a good go-to. Just grab some ice cream because I mean, there's only so much chicken and rice that I can eat, to hit my macros, especially when I'm doing like a lot of longer cardio stuff and burning, because I'm burning calories at the farm, doing labor, and burning calories training, and I've been riding my bike to the farm and back, so over 50, depending on which route I go, 50 to 90 minutes of biking a day. So it's a lot of calorie need. So sometimes you have to just throw some ice cream in there, a couple extra scoops of protein or whatever you need to do to get the calories in.
Do you have a favorite type of ice cream? Like, what's your go-to?
Usually just like a chocolate and vanilla swirl is pretty good. Hmm.
Nice, I like it. Do you wear a tracking watch?
No, no, I
Okay,
haven't.
Whoop, sponsor this man, please. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so do you kind of have a general idea of how many calories you burn in a day, or how like what your total daily energy is?
Yeah, usually like 3,000 to like mid 3,000s, I would guess. I used to track my macros like exactly, and then it got to the point where like I knew exactly what everything was, and I can make small tweaks to it. So I haven't tracked for a while, but I have a pretty good idea of like what my stuff is because I don't really change my diet much, and
Yeah.
but it can depend on the day. Like if I know I have a ton of cardio that day, or if I'm feeling like pretty run down, then I'll get more calories. So it's just I try and kind of go by feel and based on how I feel, like energy wise, and if I feel like I'm getting a little bit fluffy, then I'll pull back a little bit, and I just kind of go by feel because like my energy expenditure is different every day, so I don't, it'd be hard to figure out exactly like, okay, this is the number of calories that I think I need every day. I don't know if I'm well versed enough in that to get an accurate number, so I just kind of go by feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of touch on something. I mean, we talk a lot, we offer nutrition coaching with Swolverine as kind of just a bridge on the supplements. And a lot of times with macros, people feel really restricted by them, right?
Mm,
And they feel like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to log my food forever and I'm never gonna be able to eat what I want. And
mm.
you said, I tracked him, I got used to it, I was aware of it. But when I keep it simple and consistent, I don't have to, right? Because you
Yeah,
go off of feel.
yeah. I mean, if you don't change your diet a ton, I mean, once you'll get into the routine of it, and you'll be able to like look at your meal and like, okay, this is my protein, carbs, and fats, approximately for this meal, and you can kind of just keep tracking your head throughout the day, and you might, you can get pretty accurate just on that without having to
Yeah.
necessarily track everything. Once you've gone through like a period of time where you did track and you were really accurate, and then like you learned everything.
Well, and it's always a fallback, right? It's a tool that you
Mm,
kind of have in your arsenal of things where it's like you said, I feel a little fluffy, I feel a little off. Maybe I need to come down or come up, or
mm,
I just don't know how I feel anymore. I mean, there's those
mm.
times sometimes where you're
Yeah.
cruising throughout the year and you're like, shit went out the window. I don't know where it went. So I gotta bring it back in.
Mm,
Um, so I guess kind of I've appreciated this conversation a lot. I think there's a lot of really good nuggets that people can take out of this and apply to themselves, and take expertise and knowledge and have someone like you to look up to and to say like, there's a it's easy to get in this perspective of comparison, right?
mm,
And say like, oh, well, this is harder, or I shouldn't complain, or I should or shouldn't do this. But I think kind of the overwhelming theme here is that when you really look at yourself and your goals and you look at your values and these skills that you have within yourself and that define you as a person, right? And really rooting into those things and living those out in your behaviors, and being self-regulating and having self-confidence. And, you don't need to see the whole staircase, but you do want to go onward and upward, right? And you do want to take that
mm,
next step. And that's all you can control is you can control what's within you, right? I mean, you mentioned that earlier. You can't control the leaderboard, but you can control your effort. And you can bring that effort to the table every day consistently, and really kind of show yourself what you're made of and the world along with it. So I guess what I want to close with is, Colten, do you kind of have a motto that you live by, or just kind of a quote, or just a credo, that you remind yourself of often, that you can share with our viewers, or that you can share with the community here at the Swolverine Fit Fam, that maybe will inspire them or give them that connection to themselves with you?
Um, well, I mean, I guess every
Like,
day I
no,
just not. I guess I don't have
do
wouldn't
the
have a
work, do
specific,
hardship.
something lined up. But I mean, I just get up every day and really just do your best. I guess would be the simplest way to put it. I wanna work as hard as I can. We're not on this earth for that long, and while I'm here, I want to take advantage of every day. And I enjoy working hard. I enjoy working on the farm, and I enjoy training. And I just want to get the most out of it every day that I can. I don't want to feel like any days are wasted. I want to spend time with the people that I like and do the things that I like to do. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to look back and say, like, yeah, I became the best that I could be. And yeah, never lay down. Ali in the comments there, that'd be a good one. Never lay down. Life gets you down, get back up. Never lay down.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Colten. Thank you for hopping on here and talking with me. We look forward to, let's reconnect kind of in the earlier part of the year and talk a little bit before the season starts. I think that would be awesome. It's getting people to know you a little bit now. Make sure you follow Colten on Instagram, give him a shout out, watch his journey, get inspired. If you find yourself doubting yourself, go watch a video of him doing some ring muscle ups in a tree. I guarantee you're going to get up off your ass and move outside or somewhere. And yeah, make sure to pick up some of Colten's favorite supplements. Colten, what is your discount code that people can use on the website?
Mert,
Mert.
MERT.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. And if you have any questions about supplements, you can DM Colten. He'll give you some personal recommendations. And on top of that, make sure you subscribe to our channel so that you can catch all the podcasts. This is episode 1 with Colten Mertens. And we couldn't be more excited to kick off this and do this with our business with you on the side of it. We appreciate working with you. We love sponsoring you. We love watching you grow as a person, and you constantly inspire us, and the future is bright.
Yeah, thank you.
So
And Swolverine is my very first sponsor, and I've loved working with you guys ever since. And if there's one supplement you guys are gonna try, get the ZMT. But don't buy all of it because I need some too.
deal. Alrighty, well, we are going to hop out. Subscribe to the channel. Colten, you have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thanks. See ya.